The leader of what federal prosecutors say was the nation's largest COVID-related fraud scheme was just found guilty. Aimee Bock was the founder of Feeding Our Future, a nonprofit that federal prosecutors say was at the heart of a $250 million scheme to fleece taxpayers during the pandemic by exploiting federal child nutrition programs. Bock and her co-defendant Salim Said were among 70 people charged in the case since late 2022. Jurors agreed with prosecutors' arguments that Bock approved applications for hundreds of fraudulent meal distribution sites, submitted scores of phony reimbursement claims to the state, signed 6- and 7-figure checks to site operators, and collected kickbacks. According to investigators, Bock recruited dozens of other people, primarily from the Somali American community in Minnesota, to open nearly 300 meal sites around the state. Then she forwarded meal reimbursement requests to the Minnesota Department of Education for millions of meals that were never served. According to prosecutors, Salim Said's Safari restaurant was the most prolific fraudulent meal site and took $16 million from taxpayers in 2020 and 2021. Safari falsely claimed to have served as many as 6,000 children a day from a small restaurant along Lake Street. During the trial, prosecutors noted that Safari's weekly meal claims exceeded the capacity of Target Field. The trial and an earlier one last year revealed the massive scope of the investigation. There were 299 purported meal distribution sites under Feeding Our Future sponsorship that claimed to have served more than 90 million meals. The search of the nonprofit's headquarters and 24 other locations in early 2022 was the largest law enforcement operation in Minnesota history. The FBI, the IRS, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service collected 4.4 million documents and issued 1,200 subpoenas for bank records. A key revelation at the trial came when prosecutors showed jurors a string of text messages from Bock to a Feeding Our Future employee, where she discussed scorched earth tactics for dealing with an unhappy meal site operator, writing, quote, "We may have become the mob." Last year, Minnesota Legislative Auditor Judy Randall found that the Minnesota Department of Education continued to approve payments to Feeding Our Future despite concerns about fraud. Judge Nancy Brazel has yet to set a sentencing date. 2 of the defendants convicted at the first trial in 2024 got prison terms of 12 and 17.5 years. The case has drawn attention from state lawmakers who are looking at toughening penalties for fraud in state programs. You can find more of my coverage of the Feeding Our Future trial at mprnews.org.